If you are a diasporan and you relocate to Ghana, you cannot let go of certain lifestyles. And that lifestyle in Ghana, unfortunately, is a premium. So you have to ask yourself a simple question. How do you finance your life?
So your family thought you were crazy.
And they thought I was mad. All my sisters were clamoring to become British nationals and British citizens or whatever. And I was reluctant. And I said to them, well, one day I'll probably go back to Ghana. And my father, of blessed memory at the time, felt, Jesus Christ, what is this guy doing? On what basis is he relocating? You must strike whilst it's hot. And people come here for 6 months and then they will go back. I was here to stay.
But then the thing is, okay, I'm coming. I don't know anybody. I don't have any friends. Maybe I did not even go to college here. I did not go to high school here.
One of my employees, Mike, he came to Ghana in March 2025. He didn't know anybody.
Wow.
He didn't know a single being. And look, if Mike can survive and thrive in Ghana with all the barriers that he must overcome culturally and so on and so forth, I don't see why, our fellow brothers and sisters would find it difficult.
Welcome to the SuperHuman Mindset Podcast. And today, I'm super excited. Have you ever met someone, especially when you're on vacation, and then they tell you, I'm about to do something. Come see me in 2 years. And then 2 years later, you come back and they've actually done it and gone above and beyond what it is that they even started to talk to you about. That is who I have with me today. I have Mr. Afriyie, or you know what? I just say my buddy Yaw. Yaw, welcome to the SuperHuman Mindset.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Thank you.
So guys, this man walks into a restaurant, or more like a lounge area. Am I allowed to mention names over here?
No.
So anyway,
keep it PC.
we're all, he says PC, so we'll keep it like that. So we're at this lounge area, just having a conversation. He looks at the service and then he says, you know what? In 2 years, I'll do better. And he's doing it. Now we have him moving from a risk analyst to becoming a deputy CEO and now owning several companies in Ghana. Yeah, how did you do this?
Oh, wow. It's well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on your show. It's a very dynamic program. I've seen the people you've spoken with, and I feel short of the accolades and the kinds of people who have graced this platform. But I think any platform that allows me, or for that matter, anybody to speak about their experiences and share the little insights to hopefully guide others and inspire others, I think is a worthy cause. So congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Podcast.
Thank you.
But I think to answer your question directly, it hasn't come easily. It's been a difficult journey, filled with the opportunity, which obviously we've had to summon the courage to meet and even to thrive in. But also it's come with its challenges and its complexities. You rightly said I lived in the UK for some time. Born and raised in Ghana, lived in Ghana for a period of time in my childhood years. Just as I was about to transition into my formative years, my adolescent years, I went to the UK and spent a considerable amount of time in the UK. I've spent, over 17 years living out there.
Wow.
So I spent, the vast, formative years, the years that you learn to do things, you pick up certain habits, schooling, friendships, you form your worldview. I think that worldview had its structure, its foundation in Ghana, obviously with Ghanaian parentage, living in a Ghanaian community. I'm very Ghanaian. Unapologetically so, and but also having the opportunity to spread one's wings within a progressive cosmopolitan city like London.
Yeah.
And schooling with people from all over the world has obviously impacted me tremendously. So, the UK is really a bedrock, forms a bedrock of who I am. I'm a diasporan, if I could also identify it as such.
Wow.
So I'm sure we'll get into the nitty-gritties of it, but I think maybe we can start from that foundation. I mean, working in the UK, in the City of London, and risk, as you rightly said, was very instructive. Not just was I working in risk, but I was working within a space which was very bespoke, African risk, helping companies, the blue chip companies, large cap entities, enterprises, to weigh up their African risk from a political standpoint, security standpoint, economic standpoint, even from a stakeholder management standpoint. So, for example, the politicians that they would deal with, the partnerships that they would establish in these markets, to even their own internal hires.
Wow.
Having a view about such personnel, which then informs their entire risk profile, was something that was really quite transformative for me as a young person working in the City of London. And that enthusiasm for Africa, that enthusiasm for Ghana, whetted my appetite to want to come back home.
So let me ask this. Most people, diasporans,
right,
when we think about coming back home,
yeah,
it's a scare.
Yes.
It is, oh my goodness, I'm used to systems. When I come home, it's great to be at home, but it's not the same.
Indeed.
What was that decision like for you to say, I did my high school in here, I did my college education here, I'm working here, I'm getting paid, I can live a comfortable life, but I want to come back home. What was that decision like for you?
I think for me, it was very straightforward. It was one of those linear decisions that, everybody has to make at some point in their lives. And, perhaps it was probably the most important. And just when I was in the UK last week, I just returned from the UK and I met somebody and he said to me, typically, my journey is, if you like, anti-clockwise, right? And I felt that was quite a very interesting statement because typically people start from Ghana and then transition to what they perceive to be greener pastures elsewhere. That's typically the story for migration for a lot of people. They'll spend their formative years in Ghana, high school. They have an old boys network with university, and so on and so forth, and then achieve maybe the higher heights of their career and their livelihood elsewhere. In my case, I was obviously born and raised in Ghana to Ghanaian parentage, spent formative years in the UK, and then decided to leave the UK to come back to Ghana. At a time when, if you like, my career was, quickly fast rising. I was one of the young, upwardly mobile, staff within my company then. And, I felt that I was in a very supportive ecosystem. My direct managers were extremely supportive. Of course, I was in a minority, young black person. Even the irony of it is that we were working on Africa business, but even in an Africa environment, business environment, we were underrepresented. So I was even in the minority then.
Wow.
So those experiences, it's not the norm, right? So I think the gentleman is right in that I have done it anti-clockwise. But I felt that, the world is vast. It's an obvious point, but it's vast in the sense that opportunities find themselves in every nook and cranny of the globe, right? Today, you see on the news, there is, turmoil in the Middle East. But within that, if you unpack it, there is significant opportunity. There are actors who benefit and there are actors who obviously don't benefit in any situation. And I looked at the world when I was about to relocate in 2017, Q1 2017. And it was not as a sort of a rush, knee-jerk action, because obviously this is an action that will have and has had significant ramifications on me, my outlook on life, and everything that I touch. So it came as part of a grand strategy, a grand vision for when I entered the United Kingdom. And all my sisters were clamoring to become British nationals and British citizens or whatever. And I was reluctant. And I said to them, well, one day I'll probably go back to Ghana and I want to hold my Ghanaian, citizenship. And they thought I was mad. And they said, well, why do you want to do that? I said, oh, well, maybe one day I'll go into politics. And, the laws of Ghana, you can't serve two masters, as it were. You have to, either hold. So they thought I was crazy. They thought I was crazy.
So your family thought you were crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was relocating here, my father, of blessed memory at the time, felt, Jesus Christ, what is this guy doing? On what basis is he relocating?
Wait, so let me understand this. Where was your entire family, in the UK, or they were here?
So we're split. So my father was here, wedded to Ghana, part of the society, and played a prominent role in politics. Blessed memory, he was a known entity. And then, we had our lives back there. But my intention was not necessarily to come back and, as it were, join the family business, or to, do anything else apart from finding opportunities and working and grafting. Because look, I've been deeply entrepreneurial from infancy, right? You hear the stories. They'll say that people sold cassettes and everybody has a life struggle and everybody has a story, right? The point is that, I have always had it in me to want to do things for myself.
For yourself,
and want to buck the trend, want to push boundaries. And I think everything that I've done so far in my, quite young, adult life so far, it's part of that struggle story. And I believe that you must struggle to get, because through struggle comes a lot of agility. You're able to become agile and find opportunities and, put yourself in certain situations, whether good, bad, or ugly. But in all of that, you learn from it. And then, it builds resilience. It builds a success story. It builds character.
Absolutely.
Ultimately. So I've never been shy of hard work, and I've never been uncomfortable in, if you like, unlikely situations. Which is why, I take these almost radical decisions, and it's to the ordinary folk, especially my loved ones around me, who obviously have my interest at heart.
Best interest, of course.
They think that maybe perhaps it's a bit too draconian, but everything that I've touched so far by God's grace and with good counsel, and with a lot of learnings along the way, have proven to stand me in very strong stead. And I do not regret my almost 9 years of being back in Ghana, because that has been a transformational journey to date.
Wow. So in 9 years, you basically, what I'm hearing you say is you really prepared yourself. And so what people might think is an overnight success took years to build underneath the ground.
Yeah, I think so. I think, look, it's hard earned. It's hard earned. When I decided to take that step, I had a one-way ticket. I had obligations in the UK. I had recently, at the time of my relocation, had just entered into a mortgage, scheme, because I was like I said, I was an upwardly mobile young man in the city of London. I was getting paid well. My company at the time did not understand why I wanted to make that decision, but they afforded me that opportunity to make that decision.
So did you have a plan?
I did, and when I was relocating, during that transition period, my onboarding to Ghana, I would not say was one of those difficult onboarding stories that you hear. People come here for 6 months and then they will go back. I was here to stay because I had a consultant. I had recently established a consultancy in 2016 in the UK, which I felt was right to replicate in Ghana. So I brought that consultancy down with me. I was able to convince some of the prospective companies that I was engaged in at the time in my capacity then as an entrepreneur. So I was within the company. I had my own P&L. So these companies felt that they were going to lose something valuable. So it was necessary for them to come to Ghana with me. So I effectively had a few contractual obligations that meant that my bottom line was pretty much secured.
So you were secured over there.
I was secured over there.
Let me ask you this. What were the things that you did? Because a lot of people go to the UK, go to the US like myself and other countries. What are some of the things that you did that got you secured over there, that translated to that quick, coming up and being able to build a resilient business like you have now?
I think it's really, it comes down to how much you want it and character and seizing the opportunity. I remember, my former boss in the UK, who had a profound impact on me. He always used to say to me, "Yaw, you must strike whilst it's hot." So the urgency of now, seizing the moment, and whether good or bad, when it doesn't go well, also having the tenacity and the agility and rapidness to cutting it off and starting again. So that, rapidity, if you like, always helps me in my decision making and seizing the opportunity. So
strike when it's hot.
So striking while it's hot. So and then also, but by doing so, obviously not naively and not in a way, obviously, that will, jeopardize, all the gains that one has made. Because, it was a delicate time when I had to transition by bringing clients or prospects that I had been courting to Ghana and telling them, look, I'm on my own. Trust me to get the work done. And somehow, through obviously sheer hard work and divine grace, they were able to trust me. And so I had with me 4 significant, fee-paying clients that helped me my onboarding, my relocating to Ghana, much more seamless than the traditional story. So, and then obviously when I came down, through my tenacity, through my hard work and ethic,
it just showed.
I think I've paid my dues. Socially in Ghana, I think I've been around politically. From a corporate standpoint, I enter rooms. I don't take no for an answer. I work incredibly hard. And I think all of these attributes, obviously my candor, I believe the integrity that has been instilled in me, obviously from growing up and obviously has been, developed over the years during my adult and professional career. These things all manifest for people to believe that, this is somebody that, you can, give responsibility to.
So let me ask you this. If I am in the diaspora right now, and I'm listening to Yaw, and I've been thinking about going back home, everything I've been doing is to try to find my way back home. What are 3 things you tell me to start doing now while I prepare for that opportunity?
If it depends on the type of diasporan. There are some that keep coming back, but somehow things don't seem to click for them. And then there are those who are, who romanticize the country. They love Ghana for what it is, Christmas and Easter and all of those things. There's nothing wrong with that. And then there are those diasporans who simply just want to have something here, but don't actually want to live here. There are various types of diasporans, right? Look, I think wherever you find yourself, you must determine, what is your success threshold, and also what is your pain threshold. Because look, Ghana is, the greater the opportunity, the more you need to toil to arrive at that opportunity. And Ghana is a complex place. It is not the Ghana of Christmas. It is not the Ghana of Easter. When you come here and you want to roll up your sleeves and work within the environment, you have to knock on doors. You have to be confident. You have to learn the cultural nuances. If you speak the language, albeit the great, but the language in itself is not a tool for success. There are Indian businesses, Lebanese, and foreign entities here. They don't speak the language. They thrive. They go about their business.
So there's a natural language that you got to speak, not the regular
cultural
language. The cultural language.
The cultural language you have to speak.
Wow.
Right.
And how does one learn that?
Well, if you're Ghanaian, you probably have a head start, right? You probably have a head start because most of the people you'll engage are not too dissimilar from your fathers and your mothers of a certain age. They are not too dissimilar from your brothers and sisters. So if you're able to manage that cultural phenomenon at home and in the diaspora, these are the same Ghanaians. They're not so different. They may be maybe as not as the diasporans always want things to be fast and they want things to be quick and fast.
Yeah.
Well, they may not be as quick paced or quick to arrive at decisions, but it doesn't mean that they don't arrive at decisions. It means that they take their time. It means that you just have to adjust and adapt to your surroundings, and adaptability and patience. I think these are vital remedies for success in the country. And that is why I have been able to transition from my government role, which we didn't really get to speak about, into the private sector, where with all the know-how I have built over the last few years, I said, look, one must enter into certain areas. And one of the entities that I'm in, I decided to enter the hospitality space because I'm very passionate about hospitality and providing a service to people. But I also felt that we didn't have one of our kind. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, or I'm not maligning any other, group of persons. That I wanted to see young Ghanaians at the commanding heights of Ghana's hospitality space. And that was a mission that I had. And that mission has somewhat been realized. We obviously is a work in progress. We are working at it. But at least that establishment is off the ground. Within the group, we are looking at investing further into that vibrant hospitality industry. And it's something that, gives me a kick, gives me a buzz, because I think that it's an area that we must do and do well. And obviously from a selfish standpoint, because, and I'm only sharing this nugget because I'm on this program, otherwise I wouldn't have shared. But from a selfish standpoint, when you relocate to Ghana, you have to ask yourself bare bones questions. The kind of questions you ask yourself when you are in a shower alone, or when you have a lone moment, which is, how do you survive? Let least thrive. You have to survive.
How do you survive?
Let least thrive. Because when you thrive, obviously, then you have a decent base. But we don't have the safeguards of the West. In the UK, there is a national health system. If I'm sick, I can go to A&E and rest assured, with all the bureaucracy, I'll be looked after. Okay. Ghana has something similar. Obviously, it's a work in progress. With other things, you can manage yourself depending on where you find yourself. But if you are a diasporan and you relocate to Ghana, you cannot let go of certain lifestyles. And that lifestyle in Ghana, unfortunately, is a premium. So you have to ask yourself a simple question: how do you finance your life? And I entered this space because I was seeking a cash-heavy business, a cash flow business.
So what I'm hearing you say is, when you come to Ghana, there are gazillion opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere because this is a developing economy.
Absolutely.
However, you need to really, have a plan and then be ready to ask yourself the hard questions.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Indeed. So navigate the terrain.
But then the thing is, okay, I'm coming. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody. I don't have any friends. Maybe I did not even go to college here. I did not go to high school here. I don't have all of the clubs that a lot of people are a part of. Now I heard there's an East Legon, all of these clubs. I'm not a part of that.
Right.
How do I integrate into that economy?
Look, it can be daunting, right? It's like a kid that goes to school. Parents have relocated from whatever New York to Jersey,
yeah.
and they get put into a new school.
Yeah.
The resilience of the human mind is something that I think we underestimate. You will always find, pockets of resistance, but in the end, you will adapt. You must adapt because it is a prerequisite for survival. So you don't need all the pomp and pageantry and all the cushioning to be able to come to Ghana and and say that you're part of the society, even if you don't have anything. And these are absent. Look at some of the examples. There are foreign nationals that I know, some of whom work with me at the company that we are this afternoon. One of my employees, Mike.
Yes,
you just met him. He came to Ghana in March 2025. He didn't know anybody.
Wow.
He didn't know a single being. And look, if Mike can survive and thrive in Ghana with all the barriers that he must overcome culturally and so on and so forth, I don't see why our fellow brothers and sisters would find it difficult. But in any case, Ghana is a deeply affable and welcoming society. You make friends for nothing. As one of my contemporaries said to me, he said, in Ghana, you go to your friend's place to do nothing. Whereas in the UK or in the US, you have to schedule meetings and plan and endless planning, which never even materializes. Where the beauty of a place like Ghana is that it is a convivial environment. You can step out on the street and then you can have a conversation with anybody. And that is the beauty and the magic or even the allure of the country. So once all of these things are in play, I think that the rest is really down to you to look at the opportunity. And I'm not saying that it's a carte blanche, that everybody must succeed. And I'm not one of those people who say that everybody must become a millionaire. There are people who are very comfortable with their 9 to 5. That's great. Not everybody wants to have this entrepreneurial lifestyle that they want to have sleepless nights and own 4 or 5 companies. I think that the conversation is tilting towards that. I think we must hasten very cautiously. That there are some people who have the characteristics that can offer that to humanity and their immediate community, but it is not, as it were, the only gig in town, right? So you can still come to Ghana, find yourself in a structured working environment. There are many burgeoning companies. There are very exciting new industries in tech and fintech. You can cut your teeth in some of these industries. You don't have to come to Ghana and all of a sudden you're an entrepreneur, especially if you don't have, the characteristics or the patience or even the capital, which we shouldn't forget about. And when we talk about capital, there's a high threshold of capital in this country.
That's right.
So look, I think I don't mean to be a doomsday analyst or some naysayer. I am a can-do person. I believe that everybody must persist and can do, and everybody's resilient, and everybody must be adaptable to be able to optimize and reach for that, if you like, that opportunity. However, if it doesn't work for you as it is working for others, and the glamorization of entrepreneurship in Ghana is really becoming a big dent in people's ambition in wanting to relocate. And I just want to urge everybody out there who, may just want to come to Ghana, have a little side gig, maybe invest in their mom's store somewhere, something micro, because in the end it is the micro and SME sector that dominates approximately 80% of the country's GDP. And so I think within that, you'll find your niche.
So don't look at the small or the micro organizations or businesses as they are too small.
Absolutely. They are the ones that drive the economy. They are the foundation, the backbone of the economy.
Wow.
The economy. So, yeah.
So let's do this. we are running out of time, and I want to make sure that we hit a couple of points.
Yeah.
If you were to go through your relocation again, with how you were able to assimilate and then come back and then build these companies, what are some of the things that you would say I'm going to do differently?
Well, hindsight is always
2020.
2020 is the best teacher, but I think that I probably would not change much because, like I said, I think my story is quite uncommon, and I didn't have that many obstacles in my way. And then when I came, I also had some structure back home, which then afforded me, the securities that other people obviously would not have, right? So, I count my blessings in that regard. So I think in that sense, I wouldn't change much from my story. But what perhaps I would urge people to do is to really test your plan, right? And what I mean by testing your plan is that if you want to relocate to Ghana and maybe set up a couple of enterprises or whatever, why don't you try and set up an enterprise where you are today, right? Why don't you try and set up something in London or New York or wherever you are listening from? Because then if it survives, then you may not actually want to relocate to Ghana in the first place. You see. But if you do want to relocate, test it. If it does succeed and you think, okay, Ghana is a natural home because of the market opportunity, then let the market opportunity drive that decision making. The romantic element of, coming to Ghana and obviously living here is excellent. I mean, you can't shun that, but the romanticism, it fades. It's like any relationship, right? The peaks and troughs of any relationship. But what would be the underlying cement to that relationship is your ability to finance your lifestyle and your ability to live and thrive. And that's what the point I keep coming back to. So some of the decisions that I have had to make in my entrepreneurial journey in Ghana has been born out of pure survival and necessity, right? Because obviously we have to, one has to live. But then obviously beyond that, once you're able to build a predictable income stream, then it's about, okay, what else can one do? So which is what has led me now to, sort of dabble in and venture into a few interesting spaces. Today we are involved in freight forwarding and logistics. Building that business, systematically working within the mines and within the larger extractives industry. We have some hospitality interests at the micro level. We are looking at real estate as well. And, of course, I don't want to be mentioning all the things that we are planning, but of course, there is a grand vision, there's a grand strategy for wanting to do, things within other industries that we believe there's significant opportunity that, for whatever reason, Ghanaians aren't really participating in. And then also there are some new industries that are quite exciting as well for us. So, look, we just have to count our blessings, and thank the Almighty that He has brought us this far. As a business person, as you know, the down periods of entrepreneurship, can be really draining. So sometimes, you think about, some of your maybe the exposures that you currently have, maybe your debt exposure, maybe your liquidity position is not as strong as it ought to be. There are outstanding invoices that should be paid, which obviously affects your operational capabilities, and so on and so forth. So these are, the more unsavory things that obviously we have to shoulder. Like I said, it is not all glamour. Real work and grit and dedication goes in, and sometimes sleepless nights. And, you know, so a combination of all of these things keep me awake at night.
Wow. Superhumans, if you've not subscribed to this channel, we've had a phenomenal conversation with Yaw. He's done it. He lived in the diaspora like yourself, myself. He decided to come back home and make a difference when the whole world was telling him it's not time, or you shouldn't be doing it, but he did. And today he's told me a lot. He's taught me about, it's not all glam. Man, what do you call it? Don't romanticize it.
Yeah.
There's hard work and a lot of things that happen in the background that make the world go around here. So while you decide to make that decision, test it out wherever you are at. Is it going to work?
Yeah.
Are you really sure this is the decision you want to make? And then, if you are convinced, then take that leap of faith. Fail fast, fail forward.
Indeed.
Wow. If this was your last conversation,
hey,
what would you want everybody that's watching you online to hear from you?
This is a very philosophical question. Obviously, touch wood, it will not be our last conversation. We're going to have many
more
conversations. But I just want people to appreciate the power of hard work and the power of conversion. The ability to convert, ideas into sort of actionable things and concrete, objectives. I think, that is what distinguishes, if you like, quote unquote, ordinary people. And I mean no disrespect to anybody, to those who achieve the commanding heights of wherever they find themselves. And that ability to convert, comes with, a risk averseness that you need to be able to say, you know what, this can be done. Not naively, but let's give it a go. And that is something that I always want to, impart onto others. And so that can-do attitude, that resilience, that fortification of yourself, as a human being. And sometimes just blocking out the noise. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of, he doesn't deserve this because he's had X opportunity and privilege. Okay, excellent. All right. People have privileges and opportunities, but not all of those people succeed. All right. So you can be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You can be born in a palace, live in a grand estate. You can be born with all the accompaniments and the things that you need to succeed in life. But some of these people don't succeed. And actually, it's on the contrary. It is those people who have maybe seen a bit of pain, a bit of graft, who maybe have a sense of history or a sense of legacy because maybe their grandmother did something they didn't succeed. They want to continue that. Or maybe their father left a gap. They want to fill that gap. Or they themselves want to selfishly improve on their own, on their lot, right? And there's nothing to be afraid and to be shy or feel sorry for wanting to improve your lot. It is your obligation.
Wow.
And if you are duty bound to achieve some of these things, then let it be so. Be duty bound to achieve it unapologetically, because in the end, our journeys are linear, but obviously they intertwine with others along the way. And as time goes on, you would find your community. Wow. So don't let the doomsday analysts and the naysayers and, this person doesn't deserve this, and why is this person's life doing better than mine, be a deterrent or make you lose hope. Because in the end, hope is all we have as human beings. So these are some of my, I'm a bit of a philosopher sometimes.
Yeah.
These are some of my more philosophical outlook on life that, one must continue to push. You cannot negate anything. You cannot negate the fact that you're not thriving, and therefore you bury your head in a pit. What is the alternative?
What is the alternative?
The alternative is that you continue to bury your head in the pit, That can't be the alternative.
Wow.
The alternative is that you must dust yourself off and keep it moving. The man in the arena,
Yeah.
the man who toils,
Wow.
the man who sweats and still gets up and dusts himself off and pursues greatness. That is the person that I doff my hat off to, because that is who we are. We are built as resilient beings, and so must it remain.
Wow. Usually you hear a lot of people say, you were born with a silver spoon. Life is supposed to be the best. You have all the opportunities and that's it. Or you hear that other people say, oh, I didn't have the opportunities and life was so hard and I had to struggle. And in this conversation, we've learned it doesn't matter. Time and chance happens to all of us. No matter where you start, you still got to do the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Thank you, brother.
For this conversation.
Thank you.
I look forward to us having many more.
Many more.
Thank you all for joining the SuperHuman Mindset Podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, pause right now, subscribe, and share this with somebody that wants to make a change in their life. Listen, time and chance happens to us all. You have to make the decision and be ready to change your life. It's all about the superhuman mindset. My name is Felix Asare, and it's been a pleasure. See you.